one, go! What's up, big boy? Hi guys, this is Big Boy Talk, episode 11. Man. So we're talking about mistakes.
Yes, we are.
Mistakes. Okay. It wasn't a mistake to get to episode 11. It was really good.
That's your fun for the episode, okay.
No, that's not stupid enough.
True.
Okay, so about mistakes. This time we got to have a longer talk before the episode, so we should be shorter and more concise, which should be good. I'm gonna start with the first thing that came to my mind when I thought about mistakes, which is my comfort zone.
That's a mistake?
No.
No. Okay.
Your lack of patience was a mistake there. So, specifically, staying in the comfort zone or getting out of the comfort zone.
Which one is the mistake?
Which one is the mistake? And I would go on the personal route. So, in my life, and my life includes my job, it includes my relationships, it includes my personal development. Is it a bigger mistake to stay in my comfort zone? Maybe that's a better way to put it. Or is it a bigger mistake to take risks? And according to online articles and movies and dream worlds, it's always a mistake to stay in your comfort zone. You should get out and amazing things will happen. But I don't know if real life is like that.
People die in real life.
People die, things don't work out. Your dream job isn't your dream job. The bakery that you open that puts your family at financial risk doesn't always get amazing sales, and maybe it fails. 90% of businesses, or more than 90%, fail within the first 4 years, from what I've read. Even though those are mostly facts from America, but it's hard to take risks.
So you're saying that it's better to stay in your comfort zone? So that's the conclusion?
I would say that the conclusion that you should always get out of your comfort zone because that's always the best thing is a fantasy.
True.
But I would say that there should be a consolidation period in your life. So you should set your life in order, as Jordan Peterson would say. Strive to be better than you were yesterday, and do that for a sustained period of time. For some people it may be months, for some people it may be years. And in that time you will gain the maturity that tells you if you should or shouldn't take a risk.
And that risk isn't always so easy to assess.
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes it's a passion thing, but because if you in your job have a period of time that is stressful, that puts you in a difficult emotional state, you might be tempted to say, okay, it's an easier option. This is something that I need to do to change my path, to challenge myself in a different direction. But
to go into a stressful position at work?
To go into a stressful position or change... Hello.
Hi. Sorry.
Or change the field that you're working in completely.
Oh, okay.
We won't cut this.
No, it's fine.
So I was saying that at some point, when you choose to change something really big in your life, in your professional life, especially, it's way better to calm down and make a list and assess the situation. Don't let your emotions in that state or the stress you're currently having, or the
Or
dream,
frustration that
or
you have.
frustration, or a dream that you have, put this pressure on you, so you will make a change, because sometimes those changes can lead to mistakes. We are talking about you can make a mistake, but if you have a good background, if you have the school or the qualification, the education or the qualifications in different areas that are good in the marketplace, even if you take some risks, you start your own bakery. Okay, if that doesn't work out, you still have your abilities to rely on your on a regular job. So it's important. So if you don't want to make those mistakes, those mistakes won't affect. If you want those mistakes to not affect your entire life in a decisive way, have a backup plan. Build
Maybe
yourself.
You said if you don't want those mistakes to affect you, if you don't want those decisions that you don't know are mistakes
Yes,
yet,
true.
then yeah, you should have a backup plan.
Yes.
And you should basically have options.
True.
But clear and solid options, not fairy tale options. And those are, as you said, education, maybe training, and probably experience is the most important one.
Yes, I was giving an example about a friend of mine who said, if my son wants to be a garbage man, I have no problem with this. And I say, okay, I have no problem with this either. But if my son, who is 4 years now, grows up to be 18, and the only thing he wants to be is a garbage man, and after 2 years he realizes that it's a terrible job, and he doesn't want to do that anymore, I want him to have a backup plan. I want him to have a good education, to have some skills that apply outside the job of garbage picking or garbage truck driving, because
Garbage delivery.
because he doesn't really know what those jobs imply. He sees only the shell, the things that come in the outside world, but the job in itself, he doesn't really understand it. So I want him to have the experience and the backup plan or the background he needs. So if that turns out to be a mistake, he has something to fall on that he can recover in a short period of time. So that's my idea.
Yeah. And I was thinking the best perspective for someone that you're responsible for helping, and then that can be your child, is telling him, okay, you can be a garbage man, you can be anything you want, but I want you to be the best garbage man out there. I want you to be the most educated garbage man out there, because it's tough when your son says, okay, after the final test of high school, I'm not gonna go to college, but I'm gonna be a garbage man. It's tough to tell him, well, just in case something goes wrong, you should have 4 years of education, which is a lot of time, and that's really hard to get through. But if you raise him with a mindset of, I'm gonna be the best at my job, I'm gonna be overqualified for my job, then maybe he will understand the importance of education, and then if he's the best garbage man and gets sick of being a garbage man, he still has his education, he still has that other qualifications that make him the best, that give him other options. And I was also thinking about one of Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life, which is, and it's a really amazing one, including how short and clear it is. It's treat yourself like someone that you're responsible for helping. and it's based on the fact that when I look at a friend's life, when I look at your life, with my outside perspective, without the emotions that you have being in your own skin, I basically can always make better decisions for your life than you can, and that goes both ways. But if I look at my own life, my emotions mostly lead me to make subjective decisions, mistakes.
Poor decisions.
Poor decisions, yeah. And that's a really interesting one. And it's probably maturity that gets you to a point where you can treat yourself like you're a friend and step outside of yourself for a second, let's say, and think about what would be actually best for your life, not actually what would be a great response in that moment that would satisfy your emotions. And that's maybe a good entrance or segue to the last thing that you were talking about, which was empathy.
Empathy, or one of the constant mistakes that I made throughout my life was underestimating the difficulty of other people's jobs or other people's lives.
Other people struggle.
Yeah, I had no idea that most of the adults in my life had really big struggles, and I thought that when you're grown up, all your problems stabilize and you become this, I don't know, a different being. But now I realize that I made a lot of mistakes by underestimating the difficulty of people's lives. So I was thinking about policemen, about different people that I've met, and I said, okay, these guys are here to get me, not to help me. And yeah, some of the times that is
help
true.
me or to help society
yes.
be organized and move along on the right path. Yeah.
I was complaining about my boss being way stupider than I am, but when I realized that in his position, almost half of the decisions that he makes, I would do them the same, even though I treat them as mistakes right now. I realized, so I would make mistakes when I'm a boss, and this was confirmed to me by the time when I was a manager for 3 or 4 years. I realized that you cannot help and satisfy every problem that every employee has. Sometimes you will have to sacrifice some of them. And what's the rule? You don't have a rule. Sometimes you work by the greater being, well-being. So you say, okay, if I have 8 people in my team, and this decision will affect only one of them, and 7 will be better off with this decision. Okay, I'll do it. That person will be mad at me because I made that decision. But sometimes you do that. Sometimes you say, okay, which one will have the least effect on all of them, even though the top 2-3 performers will say, wait a minute, I performed really good and I'm not being rewarded for that. And you say, but some of those decisions are seen as mistakes, but in those times, that was the best thing I could do regarding when I take into consideration my own experience, my own struggles, my own boss, my own rules, my own limitations. So,
and it's hard to do that, to take into account your own limitations.
Yeah, but when I see them in myself, in my former self, I can see that, okay, I'm treating others like they have 100%. They play 100% by the book. I don't take them as persons that have limitations, they have problems, they have I don't know, limited time or capacity. So that's my mistake, and I'm trying to get better of this. Don't take people like you wish they were. Take them as they are and make the best of it.
That's a really good point. One thing that came to my mind right now, and it's from Jordan Peterson, obviously.
Third time this
Third time, yeah. I really.
You're banned from the next two episodes.
I really like his thinking, and maybe it's taking what you just said to the extreme. And he says that it's very probable that if you or if I were living in the Second World War and we were Germans and we were in Poland sent to kill Jewish people, most likely, it's close to 100%, we would have done it. We would have done the exact same thing that the Germans did. And it's a tough thing to admit that to yourself, but our capacity for evil and for making horrible mistakes is really big. And if we don't think about the extreme cases, but we think about our lives and our relationship with our wife and our boss, I think it would make us a lot better and help us to stand in another person's shoes and not judge them too harshly, but say, okay, that's a thing that I could do. I could have been aggressive in that situation. I could have shouted in that situation. Let's see how I can make my life and my boss's life better by understanding him and continuing the relationship on the right path. So that's a really good point. Yeah. Okay.
That's it for now.
Yeah. So to recap a little bit, we talked about the comfort zone, and is it a mistake to get out of your comfort zone?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Movies will tell you that you should always get out of your comfort zone. We would say, with our experience, and we're not old men yet, but we would say that it can be a mistake to get out of your comfort zone too soon or too recklessly or without a backup plan. So that's a balanced view.
And just to complete this, your comfort zone extends. If you only know hello and goodbye in English, that's your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Once you start building a vocabulary, that becomes your comfort zone. When you get into technical stuff in English, even though you're Polish or whatever, if you begin working with technical terms in English, that becomes your comfort zone. So your comfort zone it is extending every time you learn something new. Yeah. So it's good to get out of your comfort zone, but at some point it will be hard, or the changes will be so difficult to make, so they will challenge your comfort zone.
And that is a good thing. I
Yes.
think we would both agree on that. Okay, and then we talked mostly about empathy, and I think it's never a mistake to calm down whenever you feel threatened or accused, or whenever somebody reacts badly towards you, and step back, understand them, try to understand them, and then go on a path that makes things better for both of you. Makes the relationship better, makes the situation better for both of you. Okay, this is also a subject that we could come back on, so we're probably gonna do that. So that's the first, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.